great memories with him, and I'm looking forward to seeing these.
Look over and see us. Would you welcome, please, Flip Wilson?
Flip Wilson's story is one of triumph, tragedy, and a whirlwind of emotions that could only come from living a life at the intersection of fame, success, and personal struggles. Imagine this, a man who could make millions laugh every week, who brought phrases like "the devil made me do it," and "what you see is what you get" into the American lexicon, and who stood as one of the most visible Black entertainers of his time. Yet, behind the curtain, his life was a maze of challenges, heartbreak, and untold stories. How did a man so loved by millions suddenly disappear from the spotlight? To unravel this mystery, we need to go all the way back to where it started, because Flip's rise to fame was as extraordinary as his eventual retreat into obscurity.
Well, Flip, welcome to Fort Worth.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We're looking forward to your show tonight. And we've been sitting here having a little discussion. I was teasing you about your jewelry. You were saying you're in competition, or at least starting out competition with Mr. T. And you said that every piece of jewelry has a meaning.
Yes, all of the jewelry that I have on was given to me by my fans.
Born Clara Wilson Jar in Jersey City, New Jersey in 1933, Flip's early life was anything but glamorous. He was the 10th child in a family of staggering poverty, and tragedy struck early. When he was just 7, his mother abandoned the family, reportedly taking everything she could, money, belongings, even draining her husband's bank account. Claire O'Sour, left with no resources, couldn't care for his children. Flip and his siblings were scattered into foster homes, a system that shaped much of Flip's early years. He would later recall how he was shuffled from place to place, often feeling unwanted, unloved, and alienated. This unstable upbringing planted the seeds of his lifelong quest for acceptance and belonging, a recurring theme that would define both his comedy and his personal struggles.
Get with you, Doc, and the guys, because I love this show. I think this show contributed so much to the success of my show because it allowed me the opportunity to establish my rapport with the audience. And this show is my second home, my love.
Well, you started on the show and
But Flip wasn't one to wallow in despair. Even as a young boy, he had a knack for humor. Whether it was cracking jokes to diffuse tense situations or entertaining his foster families, Flip showed an early understanding of how laughter could connect people. By the time he was in his teens, he had developed a rebellious streak. At just 16 years old, desperate to escape the foster care system and find a sense of purpose, Flip lied about his age and enlisted in the Air Force. It was a decision that would change his life forever. In the Air Force, Flip found a new kind of family among his barracks mates. Known for his wild antics and larger-than-life personality, he became the go-to guy for laughs and entertainment. His fellow servicemen nicknamed him Flip, a nod to his unpredictable and flipped-out behavior. But it wasn't just antics. Flip discovered a talent for storytelling and impersonations. His ability to mimic dialects, craft hilarious characters, and spin outrageous tales became his ticket out of obscurity. The Air Force even began sending him to different military bases to boost morale by performing for the troops. It was here, amidst the camaraderie and laughter, that Flip realized his true calling, comedy.
A good parent that I might have pressed it more than I should have at the moment. And even in the case that I did, I made a mistake. I admitted it, but and I think the tears just might reflect the fact that I could just not believe that they were that good, and they are.
After being discharged in 1954, Flip faced the daunting task of turning his passion for comedy into a career. He started small, working as a bellhop at San Francisco's Manor Plaza Hotel. But Flip wasn't content to carry suitcases. He wanted to make people laugh. The hotel's nightclub gave him a shot, letting him perform as a comedic drunken patron during breaks between the main acts. The bit was a hit, and Flip began to develop a routine that combined his natural charm with carefully crafted jokes. From there, he started performing at small clubs across California.
But also, in addition to that, someone might generally say, well, wow, they would have assumed that I would be neglected. But I was also mentioned that in so many instances, when I first started making television appearances, which were first on the show, there was a transition that had to take place from my ultra-hip type of comedy prior. And the writers and the guys, the talent consultants that I work with on the show, worked with me a lot.
The road to stardom wasn't easy. In the 1950s, mainstream entertainment wasn't exactly welcoming to Black comedians. Flip found himself performing on the so-called Chitlin Circuit, a network of venues that catered to Black audiences. These were tough crowds that demanded excellence, and Flip honed his craft night after night, learning how to silence hecklers and win over audiences. He later joked that he had to be funny enough to make people forget they were sitting in uncomfortable chairs. But while Flip was building his skills as a comedian, his career was stuck in neutral. He was well loved in Black clubs, but breaking into the mainstream seemed impossible. Everything changed in 1965 thanks to a fateful moment involving fellow comedian Red Fox. Fox, already a rising star, appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and was asked, "Who's the funny Carson?" and was asked, "Who's the funniest comedian out there right now?" Without hesitation, Fox replied, "Flip Wilson." That single endorsement was like a golden ticket. Carson, trusting Fox's judgment, booked Flip on the show. This was Flip's shot, and he made the most of it. His blend of charm, wit, and originality left the audience and Carson roaring with laughter. Suddenly, Flip Wilson was a name to remember.
I was the lessee of a house for a year.
Oh, yeah.
I had a nice little house, but the house was too big for me. The only one was there with me and my bulldog.
Yeah.
Following his Tonight Show debut, Flip's career skyrocketed. He became a frequent guest on Carson's show, as well as on The Ed Sullivan Show, The Merv Griffin Show, and other popular programs of the era. He also began performing in prestigious clubs like New York's Bear End and San Francisco's Hungry Eye, transitioning from the Chitlin circuit to mainstream stages. By the late 1960s, Flip was one of the most in-demand comedians in the country. But it wasn't just his humor that set Flip apart. It was his ability to appeal to all audiences. While many comedians of the time leaned heavily into political or racial themes, Flip's comedy was more universal. He once said, "My main point is to be funny. If I can slip a message in there, fine." This approach earned him fans from all walks of life, making him a unifying figure during a time of deep racial and cultural divisions in America.
The plaintiff alleges that the defendant
Yeah, you got to be very
acquired
careful.
unto his personal use 6 caviar plates. I don't know what a caviar plate looks like. I thought you ate caviar out of the can.
You didn't know.
By 1970, Flip was on top of the world. He had released several successful comedy albums, including The Devil Made Me Buy This Dress, which won a Grammy. But his biggest breakthrough came when NBC offered him his own variety show. The Flip Wilson show premiered in September 1970, and it was an instant hit, combining comedy sketches, musical performances, and celebrity interviews. The show became a cultural phenomenon. Flip's characters, like Reverend Leroy from The Church of What's Happening Now and the sassy Geraldine Jones, became household names. Geraldine, in particular, stole the show with her catchphrases like "The devil made me do it," and "What you see is what you get." Audiences couldn't get enough of her brash confidence and unapologetic attitude.
Court actions are interesting.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm innocent.
We can't take sides.
I
We
don't
have
know
to
what a
be.
caviar plate looks like.
The Flip Wilson Show wasn't just entertaining, it was groundbreaking. Flip was the first Black entertainer to host a successful primetime variety show, a feat that shattered racial barriers in the entertainment industry. The show attracted a diverse audience, with an estimated 40 million viewers tuning in each week. Flip also used his platform to spotlight other Black entertainers, giving early exposure to acts like the Jackson 5 and Aretha Franklin. He even brought on rising comedians like George Carlin and Richard Pryor, helping to launch their careers. In its first 2 seasons, the show was the second highest-rated program on television, trailing only All in the Family. But as Flip's star continued to rise, cracks began to form beneath the surface. Behind the scenes, he was under immense pressure to keep the show fresh and maintain its high ratings. Flip was a perfectionist, deeply involved in every aspect of the production. From writing sketches to selecting musical guests, he poured his heart and soul into the show, but the relentless demands of running a primetime program began to take a toll on him. Fans and collaborators noted that Flip was often exhausted and stressed, struggling to balance his professional and personal life.
The cover on time, isn't it?
It certainly was.
You try to be real cool. I know when they profiled me a few years ago on Time, and you try to be like, well, it's a cover, but secretly inside.
Well,
You're saying,
I
hey,
didn't.
that's not bad.
I wasn't uptight because I don't have anything I want to hide. I think that the story of how my success has come about has been a beautiful story, and I think it's an American story.
Nonetheless, Flip's charm and talent kept the show afloat, and his influence extended far beyond the screen. He became a cultural icon, gracing the cover of magazines like Time, which dubbed him TV's first Black superstar. His success was a beacon of hope for other Black entertainers, proving that it was possible to break through racial barriers and achieve mainstream success. But as the saying goes, what you see isn't always what you get. While Flip's public persona was all smiles and laughter, his private life was far more complicated, a reality that would soon catch up with him.
And I want people to know. So I've told my story, and I'm very pleased. And the American public has been fantastic to me.
By the mid-1970s, the entertainment landscape was changing. Variety shows, once a staple of television, were losing their appeal. Ratings for The Flip Wilson Show began to decline, and NBC started pressuring Flip to make changes. Rather than compromise his vision or water down his content, Flip made a bold decision. He walked away. In 1974, at the height of his fame, he ended the show and stepped back from the spotlight. It was a shocking move that left fans and industry insiders baffled. Why would a man at the peak of his career give it all up? For Flip, the answer was simple. He wanted to focus on his family. After years of being absent from his children's lives, he decided it was time to put them first. But as noble as that decision was, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with challenges Flip could never have anticipated.
Well, I started buying jewelry in the first place because I always wanted to have a piece of jewelry as an ace in the hole, so that no matter where I were, if I always felt that maybe I'll get broke again, and I wanted, no matter where I was in the world, to have a piece of jewelry that I could lay down and say, give me a sandwich, or give me a ticket back to America.
Flip Wilson's decision to step away from the limelight at the height of his career was shocking, but it was only the beginning of a much larger story. What seemed like a graceful retreat to focus on family life would soon unravel into a complex web of personal struggles, financial troubles, and the harsh realities of walking away from fame. This was not the tidy ending to a fairy tale career. It was the start of a long, slow fade from the public eye, marked by challenges that Flip, for all his charm and wit, could not always outrun. After the Flip Wilson show ended in 1974, Flip claimed he wanted to focus on his family, particularly his 4 children. He once said, "When I was doing the show, I was a hero to everyone else's kids, but my own kids were not seeing me." At first glance, this seemed like a noble and heartfelt decision. He had missed out on so much of their lives while dedicating himself to his career, and this was his chance to make things right. But stepping away from the structure and routine of television left Flip with a void he struggled to fill. Without the constant grind of production schedules and the adoration of millions, he quickly found himself battling personal demons that had been quietly building for years.
No, we have mini production, and it involves 4 or perhaps 5 costume changes, quick changes that are very tasty. I have my, in the other instances in the past when I performed alone. In this instance now I carry a little group with me. My makeup, my wardrobe, my musical conductor.
One of the biggest challenges Flip faced was the financial fallout of his decision to leave the show. At its peak, the Flip Wilson show was not only a cultural phenomenon, but also a financial goldmine. Flip co-owned the show, which meant he had a significant stake in its profits. By the early 1970s, he was earning millions annually, an extraordinary amount for the time, but maintaining his lavish lifestyle proved to be a double-edged sword. Flip had a passion for the finer things in life, luxury cars, sprawling homes, and extravagant vacations, but those came with hefty price tags. And while he was earning plenty during his prime, that income slowed to a trickle once he left television. Adding to the financial strain were his personal relationships. Flip was married twice, and both marriages ended in divorce. Each separation came with substantial financial obligations, including alimony and support payments, which drained his resources further. His relationships after his marriages were no less tumultuous. Over the years, Flip faced multiple legal disputes with former partners who sought financial support, and these cases often made headlines. The tabloids painted a picture of a man struggling to balance the costs of his personal life with the remnants of his television fortune.
I started out as Geraldine just being one of my characters, and now it's reached a point where I am Geraldine's opening act. Really. And then with this recent mini hit she might have going, there is a possibility that Geraldine might consider leaving me altogether and going out on the road on her own.
But Flip's financial woes weren't just about lavish spending and legal battles. Behind the scenes, he had been the victim of poor financial management and questionable advice from business associates. Reports suggest that Flip trusted the wrong people to handle his money, leading to risky investments and significant losses. It's said that he was too trusting, often signing off on deals without fully understanding the implications. By the late 1970s, the fortune he had amassed during his television years was rapidly dwindling, and he found himself in a precarious financial position. As his financial troubles mounted, so did the challenges in his personal life. Flip was known for his larger-than-life personality, but those who were close to him described a deeply private man who often kept his emotions bottled up. This guarded nature made it difficult for him to seek help or share his struggles with others. Instead, he retreated further into himself, isolating from many of the friends and colleagues who had supported him during his rise to fame. Some of those who worked with him during his heyday noted that Flip became increasingly paranoid, convinced that people were out to take advantage of him. It's been said that he would frisk visitors for hidden recording devices and even had a lie detector test at one party to determine if any of his guests had stolen from him. Whether these stories are exaggerated or not, they paint a picture of a man grappling with trust issues and the pressures of living under constant scrutiny.
Flip, anything else now that you'd like to talk about as far as the show or what you're going to do in the future? Or
Well, I would say this, that I have a meeting scheduled with NBC regarding two concepts for possible series for NBC.
Despite his retreat from the public eye, Flip continued to make occasional appearances in the entertainment world. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, he tried to reignite his career with a few failed television ventures. One of these was a revival of the classic game show People Are Funny, which Flip hosted in 1984. While the show had a loyal following, it failed to capture the magic of Flip's earlier work and was canceled after just a few months. The following year, he starred in the sitcom Charlie & Co., a family comedy that was intended to be a black answer to The Cosby Show. But Charlie & Co. struggled to find its footing and was canceled after one season, leaving Flip once again searching for his place in the entertainment world. Even as he struggled to recapture his former glory, Flip never lost his ability to connect with audiences. In 1983, he made a memorable appearance as the host of Saturday Night Live, where he brought back some of his most beloved characters, including Geraldine, much to the delight of fans. But these moments of brilliance were fleeting, and they couldn't mask the fact that Flip's career was no longer what it once was. The entertainment world had moved on, and younger, edgier comedians like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy were now dominating the stage. Ironically, Pryor and Murphy had both credited Flip as an influence, but their style of comedy was a far cry from the playful, family-friendly humor that Flip had built his career on.
I look forward very much to the challenge of returning to television, and I would like very much to do it with NBC. I'd like to bring them back to #1 again. I'd like to, if there is vanity or egotism, that would feed my ego. As a man, that would feed my ego.
As the years went on, Flip's appearances became increasingly rare. By the 1990s, he was living a quiet life in Malibu, far removed from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. He spent much of his time pursuing hobbies like golf, hot air ballooning, and studying the works of Khalil Gibran, an author and philosopher whose writings Flip deeply admired. In interviews from this period, Flip spoke about finding peace and contentment in his later years. He described himself as a man who had grown up and matured, saying he had made peace with his decision to walk away from fame. But behind this serene exterior, there were still lingering questions about what could have been. One of the most poignant aspects of Flip's later years was his relationship with his children. After years of being absent from their lives, he worked hard to rebuild those bonds. By all accounts, he was a devoted father who wanted to ensure that his children didn't experience the same hardships he had faced growing up. His son, Kevin Wilson, once said, "He really wanted to raise us as normally as possible. We weren't spoiled like a lot of my friends were." This dedication to his family was perhaps Flip's greatest triumph in a life filled with both incredible highs and devastating lows.
I gave up the show at that time because I had just acquired custody of my children. I discussed this with the children's mother, and I wanted the children here so they could make the next step in their growing up.
But even as Flip found solace in his family, the entertainment world's memory of him began to fade. By the time he passed away in 1998, he was no longer the household name he had once been. For a man who had once commanded the attention of millions, this quiet exit from the stage seemed almost tragic. Yet, his legacy as a trailblazer in comedy remains undeniable. The Flip Wilson Show paved the way for countless Black entertainers, and his influence can still be felt in the world of comedy today. Flip Wilson's story is a reminder of the fleeting nature of fame and the challenges that come with living in the spotlight. He was a man who brought joy to millions, but struggled to find lasting happiness in his own life. His rise and fall serve as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale, a testament to the power of laughter and the complexities of the human experience. So what do you think? Was Flip Wilson's decision to step away from fame a courageous act of self-preservation, or did he let the pressures of Hollywood get the best of him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. Until next time, remember, what you see isn't always what you get.